Page 60, Chapter 5, Social and Economic Aspects. Male dominance. Male dominance is an important trait of Indo-European society. Anthropologists attribute patriarchy to the masculine qualities needed in plough agriculture and to the control of female sexuality. But since horse riding also required masculine qualities, it may equally, together with ploughing, have led to male dominance. The primacy of paternity is attested to by early Indo-European terms and laws. In Latin, the term fatherland, that is patria, P-A-T-R-I-A, patria, is created from pater, P-A-T-E-R, pater. The adjective patrias, P-A-T-R-I-U-S, patrias, is derived from pater and refers exclusively to the world of the father. There is no correlative term for mother, and the word matrios does not exist. This is because Roman law did not provide for any authority or possession which belonged to the mother in her own right. Footnote 1. According to Roman law, the wife, the children, and the slave of a Roman head of a house, pater familias, within brackets, P-A-T-E-R, pater, F-A-M-I-L-I-A-S, pater familias, were equally subject to this unrestricted power. Within brackets, vitae necisque potestas, and were equally outside the jurisdiction of the state. Footnote 2. Page 61. The Indo-European tradition of authority over the wife was strengthened by Brahmanical law.
Manu declares that the wife, the son, and the slave are unpropertied, unpropertied, semicolon.
Whatever they earn is the property of those to whom they belong. Footnote 3. The ancient Indian law-givers hold that a woman is never independent. Footnote 4. Male dominance is clearly indicated by early Western and Greek texts. Para. Traces of patriarchy known from the early texts are reflected in burial practices in Eurasia. In Northern Europe, in the 4th millennium BC, corded ware people buried males on their right side and females on their left side. Footnote 5. This is also true of the cemetery at Nalchik, capital N-A-L-C-H-I-K, Nalchik, a North Caucasian site, footnote 6, of about the 4th millennium BC. It also applies to the Taza Bagyab, T-A-Z-A-B-A-G-Y-A-B, Taza Bagyab culture south of the Aral Sea, and to the Tulkar burials, footnote 7, in Tajikistan, both of which were variants of the Andronovo culture in the 2nd millennium BC. The Tulkar burials show rectangular hearths for males and round hearths for females. Footnote 8. Para. The sacrificial slaughter of women on the death of their husbands is indicated by some burials in the 4th millennium BC in the areas of Poland and the Baltic states. Footnote 9. In the Danube region in the 3rd millennium BC, footnote 10, and in Italy, footnote 11. Many graves in these areas contain horse remains and numerous copper objects considered typical of the Indo-Europeans.
Page 62. Economic activities. Colin, C-O-L-I-N, Renfrew, R-E-N-F-R-E-W, regards agriculture as a cultural marker of the Indo Europeans. He argues that the earliest farmers lived in Anatolia in the 7th millennium BC, and the Indo European language spread to other parts of the world with the diffusion of agriculture. Footnote 12. But the 7th and the 6th millennia BC show several other centers of agriculture, including Iraq, Iran, and Pakistani Baluchistan. In fact, the cognate terms for animals and the earliest texts, bracket opens, the Rig Veda, comma, the Avesta and Homer's works, bracket closes, comma, show that stock breeding was far more important among the Indo-Europeans than agriculture, which may have contributed to animal husbandry. The ancient texts also consider stock breeding to be more important. The Rig Veda is full of references to cattle raids and booty, BWTY, and wealth in cattle. Footnote 13. The Avesta shows great concern for pasture lands from which both herds of animals and communities of people received sustenance. Footnote 14. Copper tools may have been used by the Proto Indo Europeans. The Sanskrit term ayas, AYAS, has its parallels in Latin, Gothic, and Old German. Footnote 15. Generally, it is taken to indicate copper and the meanings, footnote 16, quote, bronze, unquote, and quote, iron, unquote, are seen as later semantic developments. Cultivation and stock breeding, together with the use of copper, are attested archaeologically since 4500 BC from Eastern Europe through Central Asia to northern India. It is very difficult to attribute these sources of subsistence to any particular territory or time. The elements of the Proto Indo European culture, reconstructed on the basis of linguistic evidence, show a developed stage of Neolithic economy which does not emerge until the middle of the 5th millennium BC. They belong to the second phase of the Neolithic culture, or the Eneolithic, E capital Neolithic, Eneolithic age, which witnesses a secondary products revolution, according to Andrew and Susan Sherratt, Sherratt, footnote 17. They show horse-centered cultures marked by wheeled vehicles and mounted horses, the superiority of man over woman, plowing, intensive stock breeding, the use of dairy products and of copper/bronze. On the basis of the work of Marija, Gimbutas, Gimbutas, and other archaeologists, Mallory shows that the earliest recognizable Indo-European culture flourished at Sredny, Sredny, Stog in South Ukraine between 4500 and 3500 BC, with its spread in the area between Die, capital Don, and the Dnieper, Dnieper, rivers. Footnote 18. In it, stock breeding was supplemented by agriculture, hunting, and fishing. The horse was used for meat and riding, and copper tools were also employed. Footnote 19. Former Soviet archaeologists thought that stock breeding formed the primary core of the Sredny Stog economy. Footnote 20.
Page 64.
Para. The second stage appeared in the Yanmya, Yanmya, Yanmya culture between 3500 and 2500 BC, near the Volga River in the east. It was a well developed form of the Sredni Stog culture. Although the Yamnia culture, there's a spelling mistake here, Yamnya. Earlier it was Yanmya. The Yamnia culture was overwhelmingly based on stock breeding. It was distinguished by the use of vagons, which are first attested in the Pontic-Caspian area during this period. More copper was used compared with that used in earlier periods, and local metallurgical centers, footnote 21, developed as well. Para. The third stage is provided by the Andronovo culture, which covers a large stretch of land from the Urals to western Siberia and from the forest steppes in northern Central Asia to Tajikistan in the south. This area includes the Aral Sea and the two rivers Amu Darya, Amudarya, and Sir, Syr, Sir Darya. The culture started around 2200 BC. Alena, Alena, Kuzmina, Kuzmina, suggests that the Andronovo culture was the counterpart of the material culture common to the Rig Veda and the Avesta. Footnote 22. Mallory suggests, quote, its fundamental genetic association with its western neighbors in the Pontic-Caspian, unquote, footnote 23, area, comma, but the contribution of Central Asia to the making of this culture seems to have been substantial. In any case, it is clear that the Andronovo and a few other allied steppe cultures discovered in former Soviet Central Asia are broadly similar to the Vedic and the Western cultures in respect to animal sacrifice, funeral rites, settlement patterns, and economic activities. File continued.